All right, so for today's video, I just wanted to go over this idea that I had. And I think that life only exists in contrast. And I'll give you an analogy at first. If you were going to go from 0 to 100 miles per hour, until you reach 100 miles an hour, you'll feel the speed. But once you reach 100 miles an hour and you cruise there, you no longer feel that torque that pulls you back, right? And it's kind of the same way with life. Um, it's when you go from, let's just say, a low. You just had a couple bad events. Maybe you had a couple bad days, and then something really good happens, right? Maybe you win a scratch off, or you got a date, you got the job, right? Something really good happens, and that high, because of the low you were in, that high will feel much better. Because if you see, just like that 0 to 100 miles an hour example, you go from that low and you go all the way up to that high. And it's the same for the opposite, which is kind of cruel. And it's kind of the cruelty of life, that I would say. So, for example, when you're in this high, you can't live in that high forever, right? You're not going to get um, a new job that pays you more all the time. You're not going to get that winning lottery ticket. You're not going to get these lucky events in life all the time. So you can't be up here. So when you're up here, you're eventually going to have on the way down. Maybe you never go as low or as you were prior when you had those bad days. Maybe you go further, but maybe you don't, right? But you will eventually go down a little bit. And that contrast is life. That difference between bad time, good time, that shift is what life is really about. Because it's kind of like the why does God enable evil kind of argument, right? It's we call it evil because good exists. If only good exists, we wouldn't have, or if only good exists, it wouldn't be called good. That's kind of the idea, right? If there were no evil, we wouldn't have a name for evil, but then therefore we wouldn't have a name for good because we had nothing to compare or contrast it to. And that's kind of the interesting thing. But moving away from the good and evil analogy, I do believe that to have a life is to have ups and downs. That's basically what it is. That gap that I mentioned, that is all where life lives. It's the friction between the good and the bad, the good and the evil, all of that. It's the friction that is what life is. But let me know if you guys learned something. Maybe you have something to add. Maybe you thought about this before. Maybe when I talked about these ideas to a lot of my friends, a lot of them do have something to add, actually. They'll let me know that they had to stop before, and then they'll give me an example of their life. And it adds to my knowledge, and I appreciate it every time. So if you guys could do it, that would be awesome. Thank you.